Welcome everyone to my channel. I'm Andrea, your automated trader. And if you like what I do, don't forget to leave a like on the videos and subscribe to the channel. In this video, I'm going to show you a new project I'm developing based on the martingale logic. It's a truly incredible expert, even though the project is still in its early stages. Anyway, the results seem truly incredible. This is not a video for everyone. In the past year, this expert has turned 3,000 euros into 30,000 euros, something truly remarkable. Let's run a small test. We've set our expert on gold for the past year, up to today. We use it on every tick, based on real ticks, to be more precise. We start with a small capital of about 3,000 euros and see what happens. This is a fully automatic expert. There are no Telegram groups, no signals, no enter here, exit there. There's nothing discretionary. It does everything on its own, automatically, as we can see from this test. Here the expert keeps going up, the equity curve is clean, rising. It does have some drawdown, of course, but it keeps climbing and holds up well during this period we're looking at. It makes an incredible profit because going from 3,000 to 30,000 in a year is just unbelievable. Now tell me something, if a trajectory like this kept going for even just one more year, where would you be? Honestly, this is the kind of thing I shouldn't even be showing on YouTube, but it's so incredible, so impressive that today I decided to make this video. And it's not one of those over-optimized gimmicks or just something to look good in a YouTube video. No, this really did work this way. In the last period, so in the past year, these are the numbers and this is the reality. Now that I've shown you that over the past year our expert has really done a great job, I want to give you a gift. I'll give you the complete code and I'll also explain how it works, so that everyone is free to modify the code, add something if they want to add filters or work with a different mindset within the code. With other strategies, you can do whatever you want with the code. This is what I did. It's an initial version. You can develop it with your own ideas, with your own principles, and take it to the next level. Now listen carefully. If you don't feel like copying the code like someone desperate glued to the monitor and wasting a lot of time, all you have to do is write "I want it" in the comments and I'll send you the compiled expert directly. So let's start here. This is the code for our expert advisor. Well, at the beginning, we have the usual things. The link version properties, the ones that are automatically added when you create the expert. Then there are these first lines which I add myself, always. These are the ones that allow me to make trades and, if needed, to get information about the positions. In this case, you can even skip this line, but I always include it just to be safe because when I start writing code, I never know what I might need later. Here in the first part, we have all the inputs. So we have the time frame we're going to work on, the number of candles we select, the grid distance, the lot size we start trading with. So the first trade is made with this lot size, the lot multiplier. Because as I mentioned, this expert is an expert that works with martingale and the target for all positions. So basically, if we take an example where we're in a buy, when the total of all positions reaches a profit of 100 pips, we close the position. So it's as if we calculate all the positions we have. Thank you. An average position and that average position. When it reaches a target of 100 points, we close it, we close all the positions. And then, of course, we have the magic number. Even though, in my opinion, I always add it in this expert. But in this case, it would be pointless because an expert like this can't work with other experts, that is, to run this expert. The right thing is to have a dedicated account where only it runs, because clearly, since it works with martingale, you can have some very heavy drawdowns. Now, I'll briefly explain what the underlying strategy is before we move on to look at our code. The strategy is simple. You identify a number of candles that must all be of the same type. So either all green candles to keep it simple, or all red candles. After we have 10 green candles, we enter a position with the first buy. So we make a buy of 0.01. If the market goes against us, dropping every, in this case, 1,000 points, we open a second buy of 0.01 times 3. Then there will be the next one, which will be 3 times the 0.03, and so on. So moving on, in it, the only thing we set is our magic number. So this is the line that allows you to set the magic number of the expert on the init. We don't have anything else, and we move on to onTick, where we write all the code and do all our calculations. In this first part, we have all the variables we need, which we will then use within the code. They are all initialized to 0, except for this variable, which we need to have a very large value, so it is set to a very large value. In this case, I use DBL max, which is the maximum value for a double, so it's a sufficiently large number to start using the expert. Then I took for myself. It doesn't matter whether you take the bid or the ask, because it doesn't make any difference. We're not doing anything subtle here, so this is just the price for the entry. In this case, I took the bid. If you want to use the ask, use the ask. It doesn't make any difference. Here, there is a significant block, this particular block, which is precisely what allows me to accurately calculate and effectively have 10 distinct candles of the exact same type, thereby enabling a precise buy or a clear sell operation. So what do? I go and define the open and close of the candle. So in this variable, I always save the open and the close. And then I created two counters, let's say. Allow buy, allow sell, when they're 1 and when they're 0. Basically, if you don't like doing it with 1 and 0, you can also use bool and do true or false. It's the same thing. So let's make a for loop where the loop starts from 1 and goes up to the number of candles, so that we start from 1 because it's the first closed candle and go up to the total number of candles. This way we calculate the open and close of each past candle. Thank you. And let's do the check so that if the close is less than the open, allow buy is 0. If instead the close is greater than the open, allow sell is set to 0. So we always start these two variables at 1, and when the condition is met, they become 0. Then we have this condition as a background check so we don't waste time during our execution. So in order not to weigh down the program, if it basically doesn't find the condition satisfied, it exits the loop immediately. And so it doesn't go on running through the whole loop, it stops and we save on computation. Then there's this line. This line is currently commented out, so it isn't executed by the program. If we want to execute it, we always have to remove these two slashes that I put in. So do this, and then it will be executed. What is this line for? This line was useful to me during the development of the experts because it's a simple way to add a comment to check during a visual test what values my variables have. In this case, I wanted to be sure that I had coded this block correctly. So I went to check allow sell and allow buy to see if they had the values 0 and 1 at the right moment. If so, that's good. Run your visual test in the program, so in MetaTrader, in the tester, and look at the values corresponding to the candles to understand whether you have programmed correctly or not. Once you're done, I recommend removing the comment, because leaving comments on the screen really slows down the expert. So the expert becomes heavier in the end for no reason, since when you run it live, you don't need comments. Unless you need to know certain parameters, in that case, leave the comment, but be aware that you're slowing down the expert. Then we have this next for loop. So we have this whole block up to here, where we basically manage the average position. So we analyze how many positions we have open. Right now, we're only considering the BY, then the sell is the opposite. So first of all, we enter this loop and go through all the positions we have open. Then we take the ticket of the position, the price of the position, and the lots of each position. Here we go through the positions. And if we find a buy position, obviously we count that we have one more position. So the buy position counter plus plus means it increases by 1. The average price of all buy positions with this plus equals basically means that it equals the average price of the buy positions, plus the price of the position times the lots of the position we are analyzing. This way, in the next line, we have the total of the lots, which is equal to the previous total lots plus the lots of the current position we are analyzing. This plus equals, so to speak, total by lots equals total by lots plus post lots. Then we have an if statement, which basically updates the price and the lots in case there is a new position. So if we have a position price that is lower than the last price, it means we've added a new position. The average price has gone down. In the case of a buy, we update these two variables. Same thing, but the opposite reasoning for the sell. If by any chance you want to use this expert together with others, which I don't recommend in this loop, here, besides checking the position, you should also check that the magic number of these positions matches the one of your expert that you're using. Otherwise, it will perform this calculation on all the positions present in MetaTrader. In this case, I didn't include it because I was imagining it for a single account where only this expert is running. So clearly here in this block, I go and update the average price of the positions. Again, it's the same thing as before. The average price of the buy is equal to the total buy price divided by the total buy lots. I do the same thing for the sell side. So the average price, which is equal to the total sell price divided by the total sell lots. If the total sell lots are greater than 0 and the total buy lots are greater than 0, the next block is the one that allows me to close positions. So I close the position when I hit my target relative to my average position price. So here, basically, we say that the average price must be equal to 0. The bid must be greater than the average price plus our target in points because everything is in points. And the only particularity is that I handle the closing in a separate function. So I pass to this close function. I pass it two values, true and false. Now we'll see what these two values are and why I need to pass them. I've put the function at the end, so we have our close pause function. What do we pass to it? Two Boolean values, so basically whether to close the buy and whether to close the sell. If we set it to true and false, for example, true will close the buys and false will not close the sells. If we set it to true and true, it closes everything. So here it acts as a filter and decides what to close. Very simply, for closing, I use a for loop that goes through all the positions. Also, remember that if you want to run it with other experts, you need to add a filter for the magic number of this expert as well. So basically, it's similar to the previous loop. I go through the positions, save the ticket, and check if it's a buy, that's fine. And if it's a buy, so if this buy is true, it means this if buy, written like this, says, if buy equals true, trade position, close post ticket. So I close the buy position. The same goes for sell. If it's not true, meaning I don't have a buy but a sell, I enter here. And if sell is true, it closes the sell position. Very simple. So in this case, I go here to close the buy positions, passing true or false to the function. And here it's the opposite. I go to close the sell positions because they are in profit by that target of 100 or 200. That's what these TP points are, and I proceed to close the position. So I pass false and true for the sells. So it closes the sell positions for me. Here I also need to reset the counter because I no longer have any positions. So it has to go back to 0, and the same goes for the sell positions. So when does it close? After closing the sell positions, I have 0 positions. No open sell positions. I go and reset the counter. The next block is the one for entering a position. Let's take a look. For example, this one is for buy, and this one here is for sell. Then the expert is finished. Let's take a detailed look at what it does for buy, and then you know the same thing will be done in reverse for sell. So let's look at the situation for buy. We have a first if, where the buy counter must be less than or equal to 0. So we must not have any open positions in order to open the first trade. After that, we also need allow buy to be equal to 1, which is what tells us that we have 10 green candles in a row. Then we simply execute a buy without a target, without TP, without anything, because we'll handle the closing in a separate function, so there's no need to set anything here, just the initial lot size. So this first part is what we need to make the first trade, meaning the entry into position with the first one. After that, we have a second condition that is executed only when here I no longer have buy counter buy equal to or less than 0. So I already have a first position, and I go on to martingale all the rest. So I need the bid, our price, to have dropped from the last position, from the price of the last one, which would be this one, by the actual grid points. So this is minus the actual grid points. For this trade, I will need my lots, which will be the last lots used. So in this case, for the multiplier, which is what we set as input. After that, I normalize them because I'm working with gold. I need to have 2 decimal places to avoid problems. So I normalize my lots and set up my next trade. Every time I drop by these grid points from the last position, I open a new one, always with increased lots. The same thing, the same logic applies for the sell. Basically, this is the part that opens the first position for you, and then this is what actually sets up mine. Martingale on grid. Thank you. I want to close this video with an important clarification. What we've seen is not a promise, it's not something miraculous, it's a trajectory that has performed very well over the past year. In other periods, if you try this expert with the settings I showed in the video, you will definitely find points where it fails. This is normal because all martingale experts, sooner or later, will encounter a catastrophic event that leads to the account's demise. This is real trading, it's not a screenshot, it's not something abstract, it's what actually happens in trading if you use these martingale systems. Can they give you huge profits? But then, at a certain point, the account will definitely blow up. So the important thing is to find a setup that allows you to earn more than what you eventually lose. Because if we start, as in this case, from 3,000 euros and go up to 30,000, maybe you make periodic withdrawals. In the end, it gets wiped out. The account, however, has brought home a profit. So the important thing is that this profit is always greater than what you end up losing when you blow up the account. One idea for using this expert could be, for example, to try to start, double the account, withdraw the initial capital, and from then on make withdrawals. As you manage to grow, knowing and being aware that sooner or later, maybe it doesn't happen in a year, it doesn't happen in 2, it doesn't happen in 3, but one day the event will come that breaks out of your grid and ruins everything. So this could be one idea for how to manage it. I also want to stress that these are results I've had over the past year, but they absolutely do not guarantee that next year will be the same as this one. So be careful. If you want to try this expert, go ahead, but keep this in mind. The past will never guarantee how the future will go. I do these experiments not to sell you illusions, but to understand what's behind the numbers I see in trading. If you're interested in the code, the process, what's behind the numbers, what works or what doesn't, this video will definitely be the one for you. I want to close this video with an important clarification. What we've seen is not a promise, is not something miraculous, it's a trajectory that has gone very well over the past year.